Around the time I was growing up, Guitar Hero was a big thing I noticed among all the older kids. I never really got into it because, well, yeah. But among the whole Guitar Hero craze, there's another rhythm game that I noticed was still a talk, despite not being the main point of interest. Dance Dance Revolution. Now, like Guitar Hero, I didn't really get into this, but for a different reason. You see, DDR was unique in the way that you had to control this 4-note rhythm game with your feet, and with such a unique concept, it made this quite the hit at the time of its release. And consequently, it made me never try it because I was afraid I'd collapse upon hitting the first note. Fears aside, DDR was quite the hit, and while it's obviously not as big as it used to be, it's still got a fairly active community from what I've seen. Anyways, with DDR being such a hit, it spawned plenty of different versions, and at one point, they partnered with Disney. I'm not gonna bore you with what Disney is because let's be honest, everyone knows what it is. Unless you're a toddler, in that case, why are you even here? Konami, remember when they made quality stuff? And ended up releasing several DDR Disney games on several platforms, so why not take a look at them? And before we get started, I should preface that I'm playing all of these on the controller. As much as I'd love to get the real experience by playing with a DDR dance mat, I don't really have the space for one. So no, you won't get to see any funny footage out of me. Sorry. The first game we're looking at is Japan only, and it won't be the last. But not to worry, because this game is rather import friendly. I was able to get into the arcade mode pretty easily here by just guessing, and do know that while you're at the difficulty option, do not pick the first option. At first I went for that because I am a coward, but I learned quickly that this option basically makes it so you only have to press any button for all the inputs. So it's just a game of tapping one button on time, which is piss easy. The second option is the same difficulty as the first chart-wise, but you're tapping like, not just one button, you have to tap in all 4 directions, which is the option I stuck with. As you know, the third option is basically the highest difficulty for those who want the challenge. So, not for people like me. Anyways, moving on, this game is a pretty standard DDR romp. The method of control here involves using the D-pad and C buttons, which feels weird on a modern controller, but then you take a look at the N64 controller and it makes a lot of sense actually. Graphically, I don't really have much to say. The overall presentation is nice, and it's nice to see the characters be fully drawn rather than 3D models, though seeing them in these N64-ass backgrounds is kind of funny. While the characters themselves don't have a whole lot of animation, it's nice that they sync up to whatever song you're currently playing, and it adds to the experience a lot more than you'd think. Big fan of the various different fits the characters rock too. Music songs, you've got about 10 songs to start with, but there's more you can unlock as you play the game. Given that this is an N64 game, a console that uses cartridges, the audio capabilities are limited compared to something like the PS1, which uses discs. That did not stop them from including vocal tracks though. I'm surprised there's more than one honestly. That being said, the tracks here are all great. Some of the vocal tracks are in Japanese, but that's not stopping me from considering these absolute bops. Though I actually like the instrumental tracks here a lot more for some reason. In the end, Disney Dancing Museum is pretty much DDR with Disney characters, and if that's what you want, then this game is a great pick. But what if you wanted something crazier? Yeah. So when Michael Red DDR hit the arcades, Konami decided that adding Eurobeat to existing Disney songs would be the perfect move, and the concept alone already sounds nuts. Did someone just drive into the building blasting Eurobeat during the pitch for this game? Regardless, the execution here is batshit insane. These songs have no right to go as hard as they do, and that's not even counting the other Eurobeat songs that they externally licensed for this game. It's a shame they're all copyrighted though, so I can't really play much of them without risking anything. But to compensate, I will link a playlist to all the songs in this game down below, so you better give them a listen. Anyways, graphically speaking, this is the same as Dancing Museum, but with a lot less 3D going on, which just aged a lot nicer. Could tone down on the flashing lights though, jeez. Gameplay wise though, this game kicked my ass. Dancing Museum wasn't by any means an easy game, but on the difficulty I chose, it was the right balance for me. Not too hard, not too easy. But on the PS1, man, it was a different story. This version controls similarly to Dancing Museum, but you can use both analog sticks if you wanted to. Regardless, I fared fine in some of the easier songs, but I could not get past the 5-star songs on basic. Then there's a song with a super long name that has a tempo constantly changing, and it's a goddamn nightmare. I just couldn't get through it. And don't get me even started on the higher difficulties. The Japanese version of this game, Disney's Rave, not only comes with more songs in the US version, or well, different songs, but there's also this insane playground ass rumor code or whatever that to unlock this highest difficulty, Maniac. And believe me when I say that you should not do this unless you are a DDR veteran. Oh my god. Adding assault to injury, whenever you fail a song in arcade mode, you basically get enough from whatever DJ that was at the song you picked telling you what you did wrong. I know they're trying to be helpful, but my mind filled with rage can only see a giant middle finger. Other than that, there's nothing else to be said. This is basically just Dancing Museum, but if it cranked up Eurobeat mode, and well, it makes it automatically better. If you want a DDR game and love Eurobeat and Disney, then well, this is the one for you. Also, why the hell is Minnie in the title screen and cover art when she's not even in the game? Disney Mix on the Game Boy Color is quite the game. Being yet another Japan only game, this port is more like a wheeled amalgamation of Dancing Museum and Disney Mix. The songs here are basically like from both games, but the characters and animations are more based off Disney Dancing Museum, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just kinda weird how this game is called Disney Mix when it's more of a port of Dancing Museum. Anyway, since we're on the Game Boy Color, we only really have a D-pad and 2 buttons to work with. And since the D-pad can't really do 2 directions at once, you have to use the face buttons to compensate. I did not notice and until after I finished recording, and well, there were even worse gameplays as a result. Sorry. Speaking of, the gameplay here is pretty much what you'd expect. And like Dancing Museum, it's pretty import friendly. The only real obstacle is when you finish the arcade mode, you print out some picture and then the text displays, and well, if you don't know Japanese, it's confusing, but it's not a huge deal. Anyways, I already mentioned that the music here is basically taken from both the previous games, but since they're covers, I can actually use them. It's sick to hear a Game Boy Color edition of Night of Fire, and though I feel that the cover of Eurobeat Mickey Mouse March is a bit too slow for my liking, it's still pretty catchy. And while the graphics here are more basic than the other games, as expected, the animations of these characters are fucking insane for the Game Boy Color. I think that the main reason this port was made was that so some artists at Konami could just flex their skills. It's also really funny seeing Donald Duck with his goofy fit absolutely jam it out to the Macarena. I wish I could do that at parties. But yeah, I would recommend this version if you want Disney DDR on the go. It's a solid port altogether, despite being more of a combination of 2 games. But after that version, that seems to be it. Fair, considering 4 of these games is a solid amount. They made another one in 2009. What the fuck? Disney Grooves is a fever dream, man. I found out about this game last minute, so I had to scramble to add this to the script, but that was a chore in itself, because I don't know if this game required a dance man or not, and the trailers in this game frag thread I found about seemed to indicate you needed one, but when I went to the Dolphin Wiki to check if you could emulate it, it listed normal controller types. So, tired as hell at this point, I just decided to wing it and boot the game up myself on my Wii U with a classic controller. And yeah, it works. I'm forever doomed to the goddamn rabbit hole. Moving on to the gameplay, it's pretty much what you expect at this point. I don't have to explain it. But there are some new additions, like shaky rear mode and nunchuck as additional inputs, which are the triggers on the classic controller. But on top of that, you have these new distractions, like having to tap an input twice, these tomatoes that basically cause you to lose your combo if you hit them, and these weird bubble arrows. It's actually a very nice addition coming from the previous 4 games. But difficulty wise, they added even more easier one, beginner, and even by my standards this was too easy, so I went back to basic and just got the ass kicking I knew was coming. The music here is once again mostly licensed tracks, so I can't use any of them. There's also this announcer that speaks every so often during a dance, and he sounds like every goddamn kid's commercial voice back in the 2000s. And on top of that, whenever he does speak, it also comes out of the Wii remote speaker. Imagine my surprise learning about this. And graphically, this game is weird. Presentation and everything is nice, and I like how you can just unlock your Mii and put them in various costumes despite having to unlock them all, but you know, just get a save file off the internet if you're impatient like me, who cares. But sure, this might not look so weird. It's when you get in a dance, then you see where your Mii is doing motion capture dances alongside the mascot costumes of Mickey and his friends, where the weird really comes out. Because holy crap, this is... what am I looking at? I would say that this scares me, but at this point, I'm just basking in the sheer absurdity. It's great. One last thing though, this game actually supports up to 4-player multiplayer. I wasn't able to gather any people to do so, but it sounds like a goddamn blast. Maybe one day. And that's 5 games. That's it, right? So around the 2000s, plug and plays were quite the thing, and while I did not grow up with any of them, it's easy to see why. They required little setup, they were a cheap way to get your hands on some games, and of course, they weren't of any real quality. So it's not surprising that these plug and plays will also hop on the DDR train. There's a good video that goes more into depth about the various DDR plug and plays that ran on VT03 hardware, which in simple person terms, an NES on steroids. And that video is the reason I'm making this video right now. Whoopsie. Anyways, DDR Disney Mix Plug and Play Edition, an officially licensed port of the PS1 game to VT03 hardware. This plug and play basically came in the format of a mat that just plugs into your TV, which sounds pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. Diving into the game, it's a surprisingly solid product. Sure, multiplayer is just completely gutted compared to the other games, but gameplay wise, it's very much intact. What impressed me the most are that the charts in this game, they're original. They're not based on the PS1 or Game Boy Color versions. And they're actually good. Apparently the reason for this is because the person who made these charts was already experienced with doing something like this, and due to family connections he was basically contracted to make these charts, and it definitely explains why they're so quality. But if there's one thing about these charts though, is that they're rather easy compared to the other versions. In those versions I could really stomach the basic difficulty and maybe trick, but in this version I was able to do these songs on a trick difficulty decently and even go to Maniac, which is the highest one. But word of advice, do not play this game first. I made that mistake and I went into others thinking I'd be fine. No, I was so wrong. But what about the music? Dude, don't even get me started. And no, I don't think these are like great in like a certain bubble. I generally think these covers stand out on their own. Sure, this version is missing the externally licensed song like Night of Fire, but it has all the unique songs, so I'd say that's plenty for a plug and play. And also these covers have been stuck in my head for the past couple of months. Please help. And graphically, this is where the game obviously took shortcuts. It definitely looks solid, but there's a lot of digitizing and dithering going on here. And it makes sense why though. I'm sure this looks fine on the CRT, though it is funny seeing these crusty recreations like the congratulations screen. It looks so goddamn crusty, I love it. Though it's obvious that the character animations took the biggest hit here, because they just took a few frames from the characters and loot them. And the result is fine, but all the characters look like they're having the time of their life. But with these covers I can't really blame them. But Mickey has the worst of it because all of his animations are wildly different, so he just goes ham on the set. Anyways, if you're looking for a DDR plug and play, go to this one. This is such a solid product that I would even recommend you to check it out using a keyboard. I had a good time with this game, and that's saying a lot. Whew, surely, that's all the versions. Sometimes, I wonder how I got here. Now, I know most of this audience is probably going, but Gem, this isn't Disney! And they'd be right, but this plug and play is not only predates the Disney mix by a few months, it also heavily bases off its menus and other stuff from the PS1 version, so I'm counting it. But as a result of this, well, there's not much that has changed gameplay wise, aside from minor annoyances like the song difficulty is always resetting. But graphically, that's a different story because there isn't an existing Strawberry Shortcake DDR game to begin with, so all of these graphics were made from scratch, and they look fine. Like the last plug and play, these probably look better on a CRT, but even then I don't think the CRT can fix some things, like that lovely face on the title screen. And there's also some weird choices like the rankings being replaced with fruit, and it didn't take me long to figure out what was what. It's definitely a weird choice, like replacing an S with a strawberry. That's like if I got an exam back and the grade written on the paper was just a tomato. Like, what does that mean? There is also just no completion screen when you beat the arcade mode. It just boots you back to the title screen. How rude. And musically, this game is also fine. Like, from what I know, this game just uses a bunch of covers from original songs from the show of the same name, and they don't really mesh well with a DDR game in my opinion because they're not dance remixes, but they can be catchy, I'll admit. The title screen team did get stuck in my head after a while, and I can't let the homies know about that. But otherwise, this is a pretty standard DDR game. I'd only recommend this one if you're curious or have an attachment to Strawberry Shortcake, because I sure as hell don't. And that's 6 versions of Disney DDR. Honestly, I've enjoyed pretty much all of these, and I can recommend them all if you're interested, even if you don't have a dance mat of sorts, because with a controller, these are all still quality games in their own rights. Even if you have just an interest in either rhythm games or Disney, then go ahead, give them a try. Except for Strawberry Shortcake, I did that shit because I just thought it was funny.